Hello, my name's Kendall Long. For breakfast today, I got like this new loaf of bread that's like nut fruit bread.
Ooh.
And I was really excited about it, but then they put oranges in it.
Oh.
Do you ever like hate when they put oranges inside of bread?
Oh.
You don't like orange
I've never
things.
had that's separate, but Earth has an amazing fruit and nut bread. That is my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
If we're gonna like rate them, I feel like that's my favorite.
What
but
do they put? What kind of fruit do they put in? Yeah, orange. I don't like orange and chocolate.
It's strictly like an apple cranberry
I'm into that
kind of thing. I've never had.
Yeah, I love banana nut bread.
Yeah,
I love pumpkin bread.
same.
I like zucchini bread.
all the breads
I just don't like
except orange bread.
when people put orange in my
Wait,
bread.
can this be our intro? That was hilarious. Am I right though? Everyone's laughing. I'm just saying.
Orange bread.
Orange
Yay,
bread.
because I
So
honestly
or not.
forgot. I forgot an opening,
Yeah.
so.
It tastes like the bad side of Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Christmas is wrapping up and
Yeah.
like all the good food's gone, so you're like, I guess I'll eat this orange.
I don't know what about like orange flavored
grandma's
pastries
like,
make me think of Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
makes
Potpourri. I
sense.
don't know.
Yeah, my grandma she had like Polish on her side, and she always made these like really fruity cookies. I'm just not like a fruit like pastry person. I'm like a chocolate girl. But come on, Taryne, you can't open that quietly. She was trying to act all nonchalant.
Hello, everyone, and
Hello,
welcome
everyone.
to Unsolicited Advice, where, we give you guys our unsolicited advice.
Unsolicitedly, as it were.
We're clearly professional today. We are so excited
Yeah, very
because today is another dun guest episode. I don't know. Do we
Drum
name
roll.
them?
No, we never named
Things?
them. We
It's just
have
a thing. We
guest.
try to once a month.
Yeah.
So our guest is here. You guys have heard her voice. I'm curious if anyone, because you have a very unique voice.
Do I really? Oh.
Yeah, you do.
I
would
think
say, yeah.
so.
Oh, it's so interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, you
I
totally
think so.
do.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I'm curious if anyone who is a fan of you is listening right now and is like, wait a second.
Sounds
Like
so
I know that
familiar.
California accent anywhere.
Yeah.
She's not. She's
Is
like California.
accent.
I can't help but say I feel like it's almost Valley Girl-esque.
Yeah.
It's more like chill. I have like a very chill voice.
Yeah. You do have a very chill voice. Everyone's like, well, who is it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
The anticipation is unreal.
We are super pumped to welcome Kendall Long to
Yay.
our podcast. Welcome.
clap.
Well, thank you
clap.
for having. I'll clap for myself.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and we actually, so we met you, what was it like
A while
year,
ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. It was, I think, 3 years ago at a
Oh,
Biore
I was wrong.
iHeart event.
Yeah.
I
was
had
a
a
concert,
Biore?
right?
It was
It was like
Biore.
a concert.
Oh, yeah. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
some type of concert.
So we went to the Biore at the hotel to get ready for the iHeartRadio
yeah.
concert.
And I bonded with your sister because I spilled a beverage all over the prop table and then she dropped nail polish that shattered.
Yes.
So
That
we
sounds
were
like her.
bonding. I was like, I got you. I'll
Taryn
help you
went,
clean
then her
up.
sister went, and
My
we were
sister
just
was
like,
mortified.
oh, kindred spirits. Like, let's talk.
It's so funny. One thing about my sister is that the one thing she's known for is painting her nails last minute. Like we're about to leave out the door. She's like, I'm just gonna paint my nails. I'm like, we're about to leave. Like you're painting your
My
so
mom
always.
does that. But I don't know why.
Why?
I'm like,
It's like
that's-
last minute.
See, for me, I feel like that's like a very long process. That's a very tedious thing
I
for
feel
me
like
to
though,
sit
it's
and
Feels
like.
in your purse, and, like
right.
open doors.
Yeah.
Like,
and it needs to
if
dry.
you can't like I've done before where I've done it like driving somewhere because I could not stand the way my nails looked and it was freaking me out. So then I'm like at stoplights trying to, and then I'm
Yeah.
like driving with my hands.
Well, I
all
guess
out.
it is different because they have instant dry. Is it Sally Hansen has instant dry nail polish?
Yeah.
I remember seeing that and being like, "This is brilliant. Who came up with
well, if
that?"
it's a road
So-
trip, I totally get it.
right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But like,
But,
going
like,
to
Hands on
dinner,
the wheel like this. I don't know.
at an event.
it's not the best idea to wait till the last second.
No.
Yes.
You can't do anything about it when it messes up.
Yeah, and then
Nope.
it's smudged, and then you have to redo it.
You gotta
'cause-
lick it.
Ew.
Ew.
You
Try
lick
to-
it?
Do
You know,
lick
like
it?
you lick and then try to. Anyways, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my pet peeve about my sister,
just
but I
to
love
clarify,
her.
we don't recommend licking the nail polish. That's a bad.
You gotta do what you gotta do, you know. But I feel like most people obviously would know you from Bachelor. I actually watched your season.
Oh, really?
And
you
I
saw me
don't
kiss
watch
and cry.
all of them. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, I remember I always was telling my friends, I'm like, I like this girl because you just seemed so genuine And I feel like that's not a common thing. Like, I think, you already go and you're like, who's real? Or they're just trying to put up a front. But I just remember being like, she seems so just like honest and like, I am who I am. So when we saw you at the event, I told Ashley, I was like, oh my gosh, she was on Bachelor and like I really liked her. Like she was super cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so how was that whole like, I mean, I'm sure from before you got onto the show to now, I'm sure it's been like a whirlwind.
Oh, 180.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's funny, I was just talking about this. One of the main things I took away was I compare pictures of myself before to now. Yeah. And because you're in like a house full of girls that are just on point. Like I learned so much about how to do my hair, how to do my makeup, what to wear. Like I was very uninformed on all the things that are beauty until afterwards. And I was like, oh man, like I know how to curl my hair now. I didn't know how to curl my hair before I went on.
The right way too.
I don't think I've ever thought about like that part of it because there is so much time, where you're just at the house hanging out. And I know a lot of those girls are good friends of yours now, right? Yeah. So I never thought about that. All the beauty tips.
So that's like the shallow aesthetic about like how. But from also what I've changed is like how I am in relationships. So I used to be like running away from commitment. I'd never had a relationship over like 8 months to a year. Yeah. And I think you just learn to not be afraid to seek that in your future. Yeah. Or it's almost like not taboo to bring up on a date anymore. So it's just kind of like a fearlessness to express what you were really after for your future.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's awesome because it is like you have a limited amount of time with the guy and it's like, okay, well, what's like really important? Like at the end of the day, if like I only get this time with you, like what are the things that are going to come out in conversation or that I really want to know about you, stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I can expedite dates like that now.
Yeah. Well, she's like, I know.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so what were you doing before? And then are you still doing the same thing or has that changed?
It definitely changed. I was behind the camera. So I did, I was a creative director and a production designer. So I would help make sets for shows.
Oh, that's cool.
So fun. Television. So I loved that job. It was extremely stressful, like delegating and like planning everything. I'd be like a hermit whenever I got a new project. Yeah. But I loved being behind the camera. But now I'm in front of the camera, which is something I never really thought I would ever do.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of like creative directing after the show, but now I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It kind of is just like it uproots your life and it's like, oh, you thought this is what you like but your whole entire life is going to be, but now it's completely different.
It shows is what happened.
No, that's so crazy. So one of the things you moved on to do is you have your own podcast.
I do. Down to Date.
Yes,
and you were on my podcast.
Yes, it was so much
fun. Which we talked about 2 episodes ago.
I think it was like, I think it was 2 episodes ago.
A few episodes ago. You might have heard Taryne's story.
I actually texted her too. I like went on a first date the other day and I was like, girl, I need that wheel. Because it was so, but that's like just what we were talking about. It's like this whole like, okay, like what are like the weird questions to ask? Well, I'll let you describe it. But if you guys have not checked it out yet, you totally should check out her podcast, Down to Date.
On all the podcast places. Wherever you get podcasts.
Places, yes. But tell us a little bit about like, how did you... because I feel like that's one of our number one questions where people are like, well, why did you choose to do the topics that you do? So how did you come up with this concept? And tell us about an episode.
Well, so my friend, one of my childhood friends' husband is a producer. And so he actually came up with the idea and he brought it to my attention. And I never really foresaw myself having a podcast, but I absolutely loved the idea and just ran with it. And something that I've always done is just collect questions. Ever since I read this article that was 36 questions that'll make you fall in love.
Interesting.
And so I saw that article and I was like, I'm going to collect questions and I'm going to, start asking people random questions. Yeah. And so I guess it's really, the podcast itself is a first date or a blind date between 2 strangers and I'm the third wheel. Yeah. And I have like the jar of questions you never want to bring up on the first date. I have people like almost interview each other. And it's been really, really fun. Like, I feel like it almost brings out a different side of you than you normally would on a first date.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it asks like the weird questions that you never really would think of asking someone.
Yeah. Well, I feel like people normally hide that side of you during the first like 1 to 2,
Yeah.
maybe 3 dates, and then you start talking about like the more like serious stuff where it's like, no, if this is
But
a
like
deal breaker,
you're
we should
talking
talk about it now, you know?
Yeah, careers and I grew up like this, or this is my past relationship. But like on the one I did, we were battling. It was Harry Potter who can summon trampolines, versus a zombie who could go underwater or something.
Breathe underwater.
Yes, breathe underwater. So like we're arguing about who would defeat who, and like that was something where it's like it was so much fun, and also you get to see like, okay, well, is he creative? Can he banter? Is it like fun? Like, you know,
there's
can
so
he
many
talk
like
crap back?
interwoven tests like within the podcast for someone you can foresee a future with.
Yeah.
Which is why I love it.
Totally.
I think how people answer the questions showcases a lot of like who they are, what their core values are. And it's and I also feel like during the most vulnerable parts of the podcast, when you ask about like a death or something that is not quote unquote fun to talk about, like that's when I see the most connection.
That makes sense.
Interesting.
I feel like that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. And so like, do you have, when you meet them, you're watching them interact, like how far into it can you usually tell like, oh, there's kind of a connection? Or
usually by the game time portion.
Okay.
I have an idea, because first you kind of go through the surface level questions with story time, and then you do the jar of questions you never want to ask on a first date. And that jar is very revealing, because you talk about sex, religion, politics, like a lot of things.
Ooh.
That you don't want to bring up on a first date, marriage or past relationships.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like either people are very forgiving towards the person, like you could almost give people excuses to why, like, oh no, I understand, or you can choose to not really agree, and that shows a lot about attraction. I think, initially.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's totally true.
I would hope that throughout the entire podcast, maybe you surprise yourself with being interested in someone you're not necessarily initially interested in. But yeah, it's been interesting.
That's so cool. Yeah. Well, like I said, definitely recommend listening to it. We got to get Ash on there.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like you would
come on down.
Would you have a hard time doing that?
No, I don't think so.
I think you would do.
I think in my head it's just fun. So that like brings me into like a question I've always had. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't really watch the show, the Bachelor show.
The Bachelor show.
No worries. I never really watched it too much either.
I'm just here to represent the like 10% of people in the nation that don't watch it. We need a representative.
Yeah.
So going into it, I would love to know, like, were you actually searching for love, or was this just like, I'm free, I've got nothing to do, like I'm not seeing anyone, I could meet cool people. Was that kind of more your mindset?
I think if you go into it thinking I'm going to find love, this is my person, you end up kind of screwing yourself over in a sense, because you put someone up on a pedestal and you haven't even met them. Do they necessarily deserve to be there? So I liked going into it being open. Like, I'm open to it. If this person happens to be someone that I really connect with, like, amazing. And then, we did really get along, so it ended up working out. But I don't put people up on a pedestal unless they deserve to be there in some way.
Love that.
To me. So
because I feel like if I did your podcast, or if I were to go on The Bachelor, I don't think I could go into it thinking like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna find him.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for. I mean, for me, I was thinking, okay, so there's 30 other people.
Yeah.
What are the chances? I mean, it'd be great if I did happen to find my husband, and I ended up finding my boyfriend on Paradise, which I never thought was going to happen, or my ex-boyfriend now. But I don't know. I think it's almost fun to kind of throw yourself into a position where you have no control over like how someone sets you up, or someone that you're supposed to be set up with.
Right.
And it's kind of, if anything, it's, you feel like there's less pressure.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Did it feel like, was it stressful, the whole process, or was it kind of like vacation and then it was stressful when like your things would come up, like your dates or activities?
I mean, I don't really think it was stressful. I'm also a very chill person. So for me, you can throw me into anything. And my parents, I think they just might have raised me to just like be ready for anything and not to take anything too seriously. So I just felt like I kind of just like took everything as it came, and I never worried about not being myself because I was just myself. And
Yeah.
I was like, if he doesn't like me, he doesn't like me. I don't want to be with someone who doesn't like me.
Right.
Love that. Yeah.
And we ended up really liking each other. And so, I mean, it did kind of get a little stressful at the end when you're thinking, oh, wow, like this could potentially lead to an engagement. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and then you're
That
thinking.
does get serious real quick.
Yeah. So,
oh, wow.
I mean, it's, you know, it's definitely an expedited experience. And I think I did a lot of learning as I was going.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I enjoyed that. And I think it helped me be a better girlfriend.
Yeah, no, totally.
I have
That's so
another
cool.
question.
Look at this one's
I'm just
like
learning over
Yeah,
here.
this is
I'm
amazing
just
because
learning.
I always try to talk to her about stuff and she's always like, so I'm like, oh, you are curious. Interesting.
I have watched, I think, like maybe 3, and I think 2 of them were Paradise, and one was another one. A friend of mine would have Bachelor nights every once in a while, and I went to
Those
a
are
couple.
fun.
Yeah. So like I know it is produced, and I know it is like, you know, it's supposed to be very real, but it looks like a lot of the girls hate each other. Would you say that's true? Like there's a lot of drama with like maybe like there's one specific person who's everyone kind of dislikes.
It does depend. I wouldn't say it's really heavily produced. It's more so if there is drama, people just take a step back and like let it happen.
Yeah.
You know, instead of intervening and stopping it.
Got it.
They could just kind of let it roll.
Yeah, because if you put a bunch of people together in a crazy situation,
Yeah.
like there's going to be clashing personalities. Like
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
you know, that goes with casting.
Yeah.
But what was the question? It was,
Was there any like real?
oh, the mean girl situation.
Yeah, like did you get along with all the girls? Because
Honestly,
I feel like I saw a few where I was like, ooh, they might not like
this
each
past
other.
season was extremely, there was a lot of woman on woman like hate, which I did not like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on our season, all the women were really supportive of each other.
That's cool.
So it's interesting. I think it just depends on
the group. Yeah.
and then where things trend.
Yeah.
You know, within a group. And I don't know. I hate seeing women destroying each other solely
yeah,
for the
that
purpose of trying to quote unquote win. And I think some people actually get caught up in that.
Yeah.
the
And
competitive.
this past season, I was incredibly disappointed with how certain things were handled.
Yeah.
But I so many times like I wish I was there just to like say, look, you don't have to like bring other people down and grab a girl by the hair and like, you know, like hurt her in order to like showcase the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
which
just a
is
waste of
you
time.
showcasing the worst version of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just shows incredible insecurity. And I think it takes like a strong woman to empower women around her. Like the way I went into it was I want him to see the best version of every single woman here. And then he can make a decision on who his future wife is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to demolish everyone else in my path. So I'm the only one that looks like sparkly clean. Like that's not my
No, and that's
goal.
not real. It's not, like you said, that's not genuine. And
Yes.
and you want someone to want to be with you in spite, like, because he thinks you're the best, not because you like manipulated a situation to showcase like someone else's like weakness or
Wouldn't
whatever.
it cheapen the victory?
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, I met the love of my life, but I talk crap about everybody on the way.
Yeah.
And like, there's no choice but to make me look good. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
It just, it rubs me the wrong way. But
yeah, I feel like it would anyone.
And I always say too, like, I feel like, you know, even because so I edit her and her sister's vlogs a lot on the side, and it's like people are always like, oh, they're just so like their lives are so crazy and they're always so happy, and I'm like, yeah, but that's footage spread out of like an entire day that's crammed into like 10 minutes. So like you're not going to put in the pauses, or they're not necessarily filming just like laying on the couch, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, there's like all this stuff, but there's also a lot of interactions that you don't see, like
So true.
learning how to curl your hair. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's a cool, just like girls like hanging out and like teaching each other things and whatever. So it's like you have to see it as it is a show. So they're going to edit it and show the parts that are the most interesting, but I'm sure there's a lot to it that you're like, I wish you would have shown a little more of this or showcased a little bit of this.
well, the show is like, honestly, the filming process of The Bachelor and Bachelorette is like 3 months from start to finish, or 2 months. So, and they film
Incredibly long.
from day to night, every day.
That's great.
Oh
I think there's
my
maybe
gosh.
like 3 or 4 dark days when traveling, when you go to different.
God, to be that editor, to sit down with all
Yeah.
that.
But there's a lot of footage. I mean,
Stress.
and there's a lot of personalities, and there's a lot of. I mean, even if you look at the bloopers, I'm like, there's so many other things they could have added to the bloopers, because there's just so many ridiculous things that happen.
happens,
So yeah, it's definitely like the little highlight reel.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So is it something you want to go back on in
I
the
don't
future?
know. I mean, I'm not sure. It's one of those things where I I loved being a part of it, and I still love being a part of like the Bachelor world, and it did a lot for me in teaching me how to be, I guess, more like find strength and vulnerability and be more transparent when trying to find love. So I would never, I always say never say no, but I'm also focusing on a lot of other stuff in my life too, so I'm not trying to, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what the universe has in hold.
She does do it all.
Has in hold.
We'll see what the universe has for me. Yeah. I don't know. I can't talk today.
No, we literally never can talk. So good. You brought it up, but you did just recently go through a breakup, and I don't want to get into that because that's your life, but I do, like, I'm curious about, you know, I think as people in social media, like, people feel like they own part of you. Like, your relationship is their relationship, and what you say and do, they have a right to have an opinion on. And so I would just love for you to just speak on like what that was like going through a public breakup, because I think a lot of us need to remember that, like, it's their people and what we do. And even though it's like you think like you're so anonymous by like, oh, I'm just going to put this comment because I'm trying to be funny or it's an outlet for me, I think it's important for us to remember like they are people and it does affect them. So as comfortable as you are, what you are willing to share of just that process, because I'm sure your other breakups, it's like.
Well, I mean, the weird thing is you almost feel like you have to explain yourself. So I laugh because Joe and I went through the breakup and we handled it ourselves before even going public.
I love that.
We found like closure within each other. And then you almost have to break up with your fans. You know what I mean? Like you have, and they have to go through their mourning process. So I sometimes it seems like I could be so lighthearted about it, but it's like I've been through that. I've cried. We went through the hard times together, and so everyone has to just kind of catch up to where we are.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to have everybody's take or everyone's opinion on how you should have handled like the love of your life, or how you should have handled like your breakup, and then all these theories about like how it happened, or you know, it's pretty remarkable to see what people come up with.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, what? I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but it's funny. It's interesting. I mean, you can't. By now, I have such a tough skin with it because I think the worst of the social media onslaught that I got was during Paradise, like when Joe and I had broken up the first time. And so this time around, it wasn't as harsh.
Oh, okay.
But and I was expecting it to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't. But then you have people who are really encouraging and say positive things, and they lift you up. So, I don't know. I understand, like, people go through the mourning process differently, and I think people are so invested in your relationship, and you have to have respect for people who just care so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, like, just understanding that, like, the fans are so involved in this. Like, they watched you from the beginning to end. It's crazy. There's so many YouTubers now whose relationships have begun on YouTube, and then like they had to end it with a breakup video and
like where they sit
happened.
and have to explain why.
And it is it's so interesting. Like David and Liza's was one of the first ones that like literally made me cry because I just loved how they related to each other on camera, and that's not even like on like on TV for like the whole world. Like that was just their like fans watching. But I couldn't imagine if I was that invested in like just like YouTubers' relationships versus just like this whole watching this entire process of you guys coming together. So I could understand like that would be difficult.
But you showcase yourself and you put yourself out there and you are so vulnerable. And so it's interesting when people see that vulnerability and then have an opinion about it. It's something you have to get used to.
Because I remember like my big breakup that I had, it was like there was so many reasons behind what it was, but I had my like 1 to 2 sentences that I would tell people because I was like, I don't want to talk crap on him. Like, I don't really want everyone to know what our issues were anyway. So it was, but that was easy for me to just the people in my life, like say my quick thing. But yeah, to have people coming up with theories and all that stuff, I think it is just a reminder that like, we need to be nice. And we talk about this all the time because we have, you know, just like bullying or online things or just girls being mean to girls. Like it's just such a like I don't know like what we have to do to just get people to be nice. Like it seems like such a simple thing, but it really is a lot more complicated.
It's not anymore.
I think in some sense, because of like the advent of like online platforms, we've almost like evolved to be like these online like robots. And I kind of compare it to, and it sounds weird, but I compare it to people in cars. Like you are like a transformer and you have like this big powerful thing that isn't you, but it adds on to who you are.
Yeah.
And because you have like this mask, or you have like this power that puts everyone on an even playing field, and you can control it. I think a lot of people like get drunk with that power of having an opinion. And also,
that's super interesting.
So it's a weird psychological thing that I think social media has done. You know, it's like I have a microphone, I have a voice, and I can talk to people that I saw, you know, on like television or on movies. You can talk to any actor or actress that's on social media.
It's true.
And there's power in that.
Yeah. And one thing, like I've been listening a lot to Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, and it amazes me like the huge actors and actresses he has that come on that say like, oh, I had to like get off Twitter because those comments like got to me. And it's like
Twitter's the big one, because you can straight up just like at them.
And people forget
they could see it or they could not see it, but like all they have to do is just hop on, and if it's the right timing,
and it is so sad how, I don't know, it's just like people say things, and Bachelor Nation is like a force.
Ruthless.
Well, Haley had, what was his name? I forgot. The one that everyone hated for a while.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
With a J. Jet.
On the Bachelor season?
Yeah.
Which season was it?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
Again.
Or her friend. Was there Jet? Or
Jed.
Jed.
Oh, okay. You're saying from Bachelorette.
Yes.
From last season of Bachelorette.
Yes. And so our friend has like a talk show, and so she brought him on because she knew him from back in the day, for him to just like have a safe space to talk. And not obviously people had their reasons for not liking him, and he was kind of used to dealing with that. But the amount of hate that came towards her, and like people just like,
because she was empathetic towards it.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, she was like a mess and was like, should I not even do this anymore?
She was thinking about taking it down, and we were like, no,
it was don't take it down. So I feel like once you succumb to taking something down or have shame in something that you did post, I think that is when the power is like, oh, we have the power to end something.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
And
in
the end, I was like, did you do something wrong? No. Okay, then like leave it up. Like
and
all you did was let him talk. You're fine.
And unfortunately, sometimes the mean voices are louder.
Yeah,
you know?
there's so much louder.
And
it's easier for people to like pile up on to one negative comment and be like,
But literally, there's like one negative comment amidst like hundreds of like amazing positive comments.
It's so true.
I try to focus more so on the people who are extremely supportive and positive, and those are the only people I will answer back to.
Yeah,
because like, hey, I'm gonna support you if you support me, and we'll be a team in this. You know, you do feel like some kind of like camaraderie with the people 100%. That you know you're interacting with.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
No, I think that's so cool. Well, let's take a short break, and then we have a couple more things to ask you, and then we'll get into our story, which you get to help us respond to, which is so fun. So we will be right back.
Hey guys, Ashley here. Now, after about like a year of you guys listening to me on this podcast, I think it's safe to say that you guys know me really well. You know that I can be a little bit paranoid sometimes about, intrusions or, invaders and just like home security in general. I get really scared about stuff like that. So I'm a little bit paranoid. And when it comes to protecting your home, nothing is more important, and you want to be able to sleep at night. So I am so excited to say that we are working with Simply Safe. Simply Safe is a very affordable way to protect your home. Traditionally, homes were protected with security that would usually cost like a small fortune. It was put in and installed maybe in a very messy way, and you'd have to wait weeks for a technician to actually come to your home. With Simply Safe, you don't have to wait, and you get to sleep soundly knowing that you have a 2-time winner of the CNET Editor's Choice Award, protecting your house. Simply Safe blankets your whole home in complete safety. You get comprehensive protection for your entire home. Outdoor cameras and doorbells will alert you to anyone approaching your home. And then entry, motion, and glass breaking sensors will guard the inside of your house. You barely notice that it's there. And what's truly remarkable is you can set the system up all by yourself, so you don't have to wait for a technician to come. You can do it all on your own. Anyone can do it. It takes 30 minutes to an hour tops, and there's absolutely no trade-offs to your safety. You'll have an army of highly trained security experts ready to dispatch police to your home at a moment's notice, 24/7. And guys, this is the best part. It's only 50 cents a day with no contracts. Believe me when I say your safety is worth 50 cents a day. So go to simplysafe.com/advice today and you'll get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. That's right, guys, a risk-free trial. You got nothing to lose. Go now and be sure to go to simplysafe.com/advice, ADVICE. Again, that's simplysafe.com/advice.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone. It's always so funny, like when I listen back to the episodes, and I'm sure with ads too, where you're like, okay, we'll be right back. And then it's like 2 seconds and you're like, okay, and welcome back.
And
we are
welcome
here
back.
again. Yeah, everyone else is like skipping through commercials anyways. Okay, so one of the interesting things I learned about you through Bachelor is your love for taxidermy. Mm-hmm. And Ashley didn't, I was telling her about that and she's like, what is that? We were like talking about it and I would love to know more. Are you still into it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I was always showcased as someone who had like a warehouse full of taxidermy.
Okay, yeah.
And who was a taxidermist. I'm not a taxidermist.
Okay.
I've only made taxidermy 2 times, and one time, the first time was on the show. And the second time was with one of my friends who does like traveling taxidermy. Her name's Mickey. She's great.
Yeah.
But I have like a handful of pieces. I would say I have like 20.
Okay.
I mean, not like huge pieces either. Just like, you know, from that range from like bones that I find while hiking to I have like a badger and a ram head, you know, I mean, and they're all secondhand. It's so funny because whenever the subject of taxidermy comes up, my first reaction is like, I must defend myself and tell people like, I never kill anything. Everything's like sustainably sourced, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand like the one thing I loved about being into taxidermy and actually going on a really public platform about it was that I learned how many people were like extremely passionate about animals. And I am as well. Like I do a lot of volunteering for different animal organizations. And so it was actually really nice to hear like how much support, you know, animals had.
No. I thought about it because the other day I recently got a tattoo and in the store they had like this beautiful like bat and it was just like so gorgeous the way it looked
bats.
and so I was just like, oh, and I thought of you and I was like, that's cool. But yeah, I can see how. So they use like that as like your thing, but it's more just something that you like find beauty in and like you like your little pieces.
It's like
that
the art
you have.
of nature preserved.
Yeah.
And I've always been into it ever since I was younger. I loved hiking and I would collect like skulls and bones that I found while hiking or bugs. Like I'm really into entomology too. But it's just because I'm a science nerd. Like I'm into like zoology, botany, entomology. Like I love all the science things.
Yeah.
So collecting is more so of a source of inspiration and to study. Like I didn't go to school for any of this, but I kind of study it on like on the side.
That's so cool.
It's like a little hobby.
Yeah, it's a little hobby. So I mean, I read like so many books about this stuff, and I mean, I would have loved to be like a marine biologist if there wasn't so much math involved.
Oh, I could so see that.
But
math is a no.
Yeah, math really like stifled my dreams.
Yeah. I mean, same.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
so true.
Math. That's hilarious though. I love how just, and this is just like from my personal standpoint, like stereotypically, you don't look like someone who would be into that kind of stuff. My whole dad's side of the family like hunts and does that kind of stuff. My brother lives in Alaska and will like, I mean, it's not popular.
I mean,
but like he'll hunt moose and then like, you know, there's a moose head in his house and it's just like, it's like, it's crazy. Like I picture this. That's what I picture. Yeah. I picture my brother, to be honest.
I've never hunted, but I see, I mean, look, factory farms are way worse than any kind of hunting. Yeah. And also a lot of hunting gives money towards like natural parks. So it actually helps those preserve like natural environments. But the one thing I say, if I'm pescatarian and I'll go fishing, but if I was ever to eat meat on a common basis, like ever again, I feel like I would have a responsibility to hunt and to understand what it's like to take a life in order to appreciate eating like a life. Like so I mean, I think there's a lot of respect for people who understand like the sacrifice that like people take for granted on their like shelves in the grocery store every
no,
day.
it's so true. Yeah. I had there was a preschooler at one of the schools I work with who the parents left the TV on, and she watched during Thanksgiving. They like showed something about a turkey being killed, and she was old enough that she was like, wait, this is like what we're eating. And so she came to school, and the mom was like, she was decided she wants to be a vegetarian because it was like, it's not a concept you learn when you're young. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, I'm given this food and I just eat it. And
we're so separated from the natural world.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, it's like we're almost like sheltered from the truth of it. Like it used to not be like that. I feel like, you know, your family would have like a farm and, you know, understand what it's like to like take a life in order to sustain life. But that's just not in our everyday anymore.
Yeah, we're super desensitized to it. I remember my mom's family friend, her dad had a farm, and when she was, I think, in middle school or something, like happened to walk in on her dad butchering, and like she didn't eat meat for like the longest time. She eats it now, but with like more appreciation for it, and also just more awareness of like where it is sourced. Like, is it wild caught? Is it farmed? It's like just not being aware of any of that stuff. So
it's so true.
Hey, I mean, I think people, and the biggest trolls about hunting are the ones that will go to like fast food places and just like pick up like a hamburger from a factory farm. So I'm like, your opinion can stay where it is. Like,
it is very like, I remember when I was vegan for a while, and then I like posted a story or something in a truck, and all of a sudden people were coming after me being like, you're vegan but you drive a truck. And I was like, wait, I don't understand, like, but you know what or even like, what is that real leather you're wearing, and things like that. So it is like the opinions that fly are just like, you don't know what you're safe to say.
You're
or
walking
not to
on
say.
eggshells, like quite literally. You're walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I am pescatarian, and I'm like open about it like on my social media platforms. But whenever I travel, I'll eat meat when I travel because I feel like it's sustained. It's a source from a better location, and it's also part of culture. Yeah. And I love experiencing that. And so whenever I like ate, it was in Japan, and I had what's that meat called? Like the Wagyu beef. So I had Wagyu beef in Japan. Classic. You have to have Wagyu beef in Japan. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to, but I wanted to experience it.
Definitely part of it there.
And I posted about it, and people were just like, how dare you? You call yourself like a pescatarian. And I was like, guys, like,
calm down.
Like, if your passions become something that create like a big surge of like anger and hatred in you, like you might have to do some self-reflection. Like there's ways to approach things.
Wow, you said that so well. Sentence.
That was great.
That's going to be our like, we tried, put
it on repeat.
We did it once. We were like, it'd be a great idea if we post like quotes from the episode, and we did it once, and it was a Winston quote.
Oh, Winston Churchill?
No.
I wish.
I love Winston Churchill.
Winston from New Girl.
We're not. I see. I also love New Girl.
But no, I freaking love how you said that. And I think that is passion. Just to be passionate and loud and all up in everyone's business is not the same. And I think of like just the ability to just sit and talk with people and be like, hey, like, that's cool that you believe that. Here's what I believe, and like how you talk about things.
Yeah,
and
exchanging knowledge.
It's insane. This is what I love about our podcast. Like, who knew we'd be talking about freaking the circle of life?
Right? The circle of life.
But I love it. I love
it.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get in our story, we have a segment called Tearing It Up.
Sweet.
Tearing It Up is, obviously I'm Taryne. Basically, I do like the most embarrassing things ever. And so we have people send in embarrassing moments. So we would love if you could share an embarrassing moment and be our segment of Tearing It Up.
Oh my gosh. So I thought about this because you messaged me.
Yes.
I have a really embarrassing moment. And it happened like in a place that was, well, okay, I'll just say it. I'll just say what my embarrassing moment was. So my grandmother passed away when I was around like 12 years old. And so we flew to Florida for her funeral. And my mother grew up in a very strictly like Catholic family. Okay. So when we were going through the funeral, the church came up to my sister and I, and they're like, during the service, like, would you bring up the gifts? And being someone who wasn't raised in like a strictly Catholic environment, I had no idea what the gifts were.
Yeah,
my sister and I would look at each other and we're like, what are the gifts?
I know.
And they just said, can you bring up the gifts? And they walked away with no context. So I asked my mom, I was like, what are gifts? And she's like, I don't know. So during the service, my sister and I were freaking out because they have this huge expectation on us.
It's also a very formal
Very formal
service.
Yeah, it is. It's like, and it's long. And so my sister and I went on a search for like gifts, presents while the service is going on. And we're thinking like, we need to find these presents. We're looking like in the back of the church, like in like go digging through things, like trying to find like presents. So we end up seeing these bags full of envelopes. And like I'm thinking like, oh, gift cards, like I don't know, like, this could be like presents, like money. It ends up being like the money that the church like collects.
Tithe.
Oh my God,
And so my sister and I take these really heavy bags. During the service, we walk down the middle of the aisle,
stop it.
and with these bags of like money, and we go up to the I don't know if it's like a priest. I don't know what the head of the priest. Yeah. We go up and we're like, here's the gifts, and he looks at us and he's like, those aren't the gifts. And they're like, oh, was it like communion? Super awkward. And then we like awkwardly bring, and everyone's like staring at us. It's literally in the middle. I don't even know how my parents allowed me to do this.
Where did you find this?
Yeah. So we bring them back, and then they get some other kids to bring up the gifts, which is like the communion, like the wine and the bread.
Okay. I was like, what?
And then it's not over. My sister and I end up trying to go up to get communion. And granted, this is like my grandmother's funeral. And as soon as we get up there, they're like, you haven't gone through communion, have you? And we're like, no, we were denied the bread and the wine. I was like,
in front of it, they're like, just go sit down.
So it just like perpetuated into like this really, it was embarrassing. It was awful. But I like to think that my grandma's like laughing from heaven.
I'm sure.
I'm sure she enjoyed the whole service.
Honestly, on a very real note, I think more stuff like, I think funerals, at least the ones that I have been to, are more sad than they are like a celebration, where I feel like stuff like that just kind of like lightens the mood a little bit, and is honestly, if I were in the crowd, I would have very much appreciated watching that whole
I'm just
process.
picturing like these two, like, what did you say, 10 12 how old were you? 12?
Oh, we're like 12 years old,
just like the gifts.
I know.
Where are the gifts?
You know what I mean? It just sounds like this big. I mean, I'm like 30 years old, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, what are the gifts?
The whole time I was like, wait, what is it? It wasn't until the very end I
was like, wait, was it communion?
Yeah.
Is that what the gifts are?
But I mean, I would have understood communion, but so my sister and I majorly failed during our grandmother's funeral.
I love how your parents too were like, we don't know what the gifts are, and just let you go wander.
No, literally, we're gonna go look, and they're like, okay. My parents are like that though. They just let us go through things.
Do your thing.
And my parents like. Our whole entire family like laughs at pain. So that's like how we survive.
What you gotta do.
My parents like absolutely loved it. They're probably watching us like cracking up, like looking in the back, freaking out, and they're just like, look at our daughters like trying to figure out what the gifts are. Like,
I would be like that with my kids. Like me and my husband just eating popcorn, watching them just go through it.
Those are life skills.
Yeah.
Like, well, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I have not done anything like that.
Yeah.
At a major like event like that, I don't think.
Yeah, like maybe weddings. I feel like a lot of stuff happens at weddings.
A lot of stuff happens at weddings. Yeah. No, for sure. Hey guys, we just wanted to take a second to just say thank you for being a part of our little Unsolicited Advice family.
We love you guys so much, and it would mean so much to us if you would rate, review, subscribe, and share our podcast. Spread the word, spread the love.
Yes.
Give advice to everyone. Advice for you, advice for your mom, advice for your friends. Change the world. Help us get the word out there. And that would mean so much to us. And back to the show.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our story. So this is from a guy, Ash.
Oh. Hello, 5% listeners.
We don't have a lot of guys that listen to our podcast, so we get really excited when we see a guy and we're like, yes.
When it happens, we're like, hello.
Yes. Okay, he wants to be anonymous. Hello, Ashley and Taryne and Kendall. He didn't know.
No worries. It's fine. No offense taken.
Against him.
First off, I want to say I'm a huge fan of this podcast, and it helps me through every Monday. You two are hilarious, incredibly intelligent, gorgeous, down-to-earth people. Oh my gosh.
Shooting his shot.
Thank you.
Oh, man, thank you.
Thank you. Another thing to add, I'm part of that male listener percentage. Woo woo. Mm-hmm. I like to be kept anonymous if possible. Again, every time they say if possible, I'm like, what if I was just like, no, his name
sorry.
is Bradley the third.
act as if we would-
I know. I sent an email to you guys a while ago, sorry, but I had a hard time describing what I need advice on. I still find it hard to find all the words to say, so here's my jumbled thoughts. Through therapy, I finally came to the conclusion I've never listened to my intuition. For context, I'm 25. Due to many circumstances, I had to be an adult when I was very young in a responsibility sense, and I had no one to push me to be creative and think about all my options for career paths. No motivating friends, no motivating family. And what I'm wondering is, how do you start listening to your hushed intuition? I know this is super lengthy. This is not lengthy, anonymous. This is like a perfect little right in the pocket. It might not make much sense, but thank you so much for taking the time to read this. I hope to possibly hear this on the pod. Love, Anonymous.
I like that.
I do too.
Yeah.
We've been actually we get a lot of dating stuff, which we should have. We got the down to date specialist over here. It was kind of a
refreshing
fail.
though. I like answering.
Yes, that's what we say too.
You know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But yeah, we've been getting just like life situations that we don't talk about. And I know when we were talking before you came on here and I was asking you about your passions, you talked a lot about just like human connection and how we as people relate to each other. And I think one of the powerful things that comes from that when we use it right, and we're not mean, is we can just relate on these things of like, yeah, I've had to like try to figure out like, is this like intuition or is this me just like willing things to happen in my life? So I freaking love stuff like this or like topics like this.
Yeah.
So did you have any thoughts that came up?
I'm trying to think.
Do you have anything?
I have an opinion.
Oh yeah, get it, girl.
I feel like everyone puts so much pressure on what I should be and what I should. But my dad always told me, don't follow the money, follow what makes you happy.
Yeah, love that.
And so things that I follow are like, what do you like reading about? Like, what do you like researching? What do you find interesting? Like, what articles, when you look them up, are you drawn to?
Yeah.
And I say, follow the path of like what you find interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when Joe and I first started dating, not to bring up exes, but you know, he's cool.
Yeah.
I would ask him like, what do you read? And he would say, oh, I don't really read. And I'm like, no, I don't accept that for an answer.
Yeah.
What do you like? And he's like, oh, I like food. I like, learning about that. And I was like, okay, so here's some books of like Michael Pollan. Here's like all these like food books, and start reading them. And now he's like an avid reader.
Yeah.
And so I feel like people don't envision themselves being something unless they research things that they're actually like really into.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's how I tell people about YouTube.
Yeah.
100%. I've come across, especially people my age, that say, oh, I missed the YouTube trend, or I didn't hop on that wagon, I'm too old. And I'm like, no, you haven't found the genre that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like I feel like I kind of like grew out of a certain type, and then I got really into like fitness bloggers from Australia. I don't know why specifically, but they're all super, and I just got super into them, and I can't stop watching them. And it's so weird how, I mean, there's plant vloggers, there's music vlog, like you can watch anything, and I'm like, once you find your person, like you're so invested.
Well, yeah, there's
in
a
their
niche
life.
in any kind of forum.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like for me, I am interested in like sociology and people, among other things. But that's one of the avenues that I love. So I have a podcast about like people and connection and questions, and it's something that started out as a passion and that I did for free. So, and so I feel like those if you look at the end goal, you're never going to get there.
Right.
I totally agree.
So
like
true.
You just follow the path of least resistance and things that you're passionate about, and it'll bring you to a place you never expected to be.
Yeah, and that's another thing. One of my girl groups, we get together every couple of weeks, and we just like go through life together and kind of help each other with like questions or whatever we're going through. And someone very recently was just talking about purpose and how they felt lost and how they didn't know what their purpose was, or how do you find your purpose. And I think like our grand conclusion was like, I think your purpose changes, and I think your purpose has seasons, and I think you'll be going through something for a short period of time, and you have a very specific purpose for maybe 3 years. And then you come out of that and you're just like, well, now what? And it's normal to feel lost in between those seasons of not knowing where to go, or here's who I was, because maybe you identified yourself with that purpose, but who am I now? And like kind of migrating through that and then finding a new purpose wherever you are. And then we talked about, Brene Brown had that quote that I said not that long ago, like, put your passion, you might not be passionate in something now, but like put passion where you're at.
Yeah.
Or where like the
it's
period
like,
you're
don't try
in.
to do like always like only do things you're passionate about, but like bring your passion into like where you're at too.
Yeah. Like you might not love where you're at right now, but you can still put your all into it.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be malleable because life is ever changing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Authors
Yeah.
don't write the title of the book before they finish it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
don't like give yourself a title. Like wait for yourself to go through your life, like write your chapters, go through your story. And then at the end of it, you create that title for yourself.
Yeah.
No, I think that's so true. And I think like honestly something, you know, you can always have a different perspective, right? Like he's writing saying like, I didn't have people to push me in these areas. And then I think about it as like, honestly, that's kind of a gift because so many of us grow up in families where it's like you're taught this is what we do. Or, you know, I think of specifically like families of doctors that it's like, no, this is what our family does. Or, you know, your parents have a certain set of opinions that you formed as your own because that's just how child development is. You know, you like have that stage where you're like, I don't know what right is wrong and wrong is. So I look to my parent to tell me what is right and wrong. So I think that it's something like, it might feel like confusing because you don't know what to do. But at the same time, like that's kind of a gift to have that blank slate of like, well, what do I want to do? And I think the number one thing I would say is like, just be quiet and be okay with being quiet. When I've had to reset in my life, which I think is so exciting. I know people are like, oh, like I dread that. But like when I went through my breakup and I had to start from the bottom, I was so excited because I was like, now I get to figure out like who am I, like just for me. And I think the one thing I really had to do was just like shut up for a minute and like not totally, like you said, like not go running to things, but like sit and be like, okay, first step, like what am I drawn to? Like what are things that I like? And now I can explore in that and read something, or maybe I look up a documentary and just tiptoe and not try to make these huge decisions, but like just step into like whatever flows, you know? So I would encourage you, Anonymous, to see this as a positive thing. And if you really do, because some people, I need sometimes those pushes, then seek people who you trust. And it's okay to like ask for that from people that you trust and to be like, hey, let me talk some things through. I want your honest opinion. But yeah, intuition is such a strange thing.
It is.
Of like, is this just me being like, I want that, so I have this gut feeling I should go here? Or, you know, it's hard to know what to follow, but you got to just kind of trust it sometimes, I think.
Yeah, I think it's also a little scary with social media and everything being so public and comparing ourselves to each other, thinking that you have to absolutely love something that provides for you. You know, just because it's your job doesn't mean that it is necessarily your passion. You might be working so that you can do your passion on the side, or you might be lucky and you are doing your passion for your job and you do other things on the side. But I think it's still important to find out what makes you happy and whether you're doing it as a job or not. Like finding a way or an avenue to get that fulfillment through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah. I'm actually super excited for Anonymous. Because I feel
25 is like a dope age too.
Yeah,
like that's
I feel like that's actually what's weird is like that's a common age to not know what's going on, you know, like
quarter
you're
life
still
crisis.
Pretty fresh out of college. You're not fully like maybe like dove into a career yet. Like that's an exciting time to be alive.
I'm guessing he's surrounded by people that like have it all together because
he's got a bunch of type A friends is what he's got.
That's usually when I'm like, wait, am I doing it wrong? Because like everyone is, you know, popping out children and whatever. And I'm like, shoot, like I better get going. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, that's what I would say. Wow. I love this. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people talk about stuff like that.
No, they don't.
I'm excited for him to inspire himself.
Yeah.
I don't think you can seek the answer in other people.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you're looking for who you are through other people, you're just kind of seeing who they are.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, that's why I always love do your own research about what you like, because then you're the one seeking things out. The only one that could be responsible for your happiness is you.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. That's why in the dating world, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, he doesn't do this for me or she doesn't do this for me. It's like, that's not their responsibility to make you happy.
Yeah.
If you're not happy on your own, then I don't know if you are ready for a relationship.
No, that's so true. Well, I feel like you were the perfect person to be here and talk to him because I just like honestly every conversation I've had with you, I like learned something different, and just hearing you talk about like your passions and things you're interested in, like that's so much cooler than like people who are all the same. You know what I mean? So I think it's just there's no mold we need to fit in, and I think the more we break out of it, like those are the people that are so intriguing and do amazing things.
He's an outlier.
Yeah, I can't wait to go buy a bunch of books on Amazon Prime.
Overnight it.
Like, hell yes.
Overnight it.
Kendall,
I'm gonna be a reader
teach
now.
me everything.
Honestly,
please.
though, I mean, you're not a reader until you find a book that you like.
Literally,
That's true.
all I read and listen to are true crime stuff. So I maybe I'll
there's
switch
so
it up.
much. You should
And Harry Potter.
You should read Stiff by Mary Roach.
Done. Writing it down.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
It's about what you can
Book
do with your
club?
body after you die.
interesting.
Out of here.
Right? Intrigued. And you are going to read the hell out of that book.
Writing it
You
down.
should read all Mary Roach. She's great.
Oh my gosh! See, you're just gonna
You
be
need an author that you like, and then you'll be fine. You'll be a reader.
and you'll be good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I should, branch out of Harry Potter's.
And nothing wrong with Harry
Read some.
Potter. Have you? Yeah. Well, I just recently found out about that Harry Potter like fan fiction. Who was I talking to about it? I think we had a whole conversation about it.
Andrew's like me.
But it just made me think of that. I love I went online to look up like erotic fan fiction in LA, like readings, because I used to have it in San Francisco. I know this is a huge
Really?
tangent, but
No, it's not. I'm
We
interested.
love tangents.
I love hearing people's take and like how creative they can get on a popular story.
Yeah.
So I want to start. We should start a group. Let's start like an erotic fan fiction
Let's
group.
go.
I
Starting with Harry
honestly have
Potter.
always wanted to be in like some sort of like book club, because I just feel like every time I hear about people talking about books they read, they sound so smart.
Oh, I love books.
And I want to be a part of it. So I'm in the club. Okay, well, I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah,
I'm
this
so
was
sad.
so
This
much
was
fun.
so fun.
really fun.
This is so much fun.
We'll have to have you. We need to, next time we have you back, it'll be like a specific like dating first date scenario, because
I'm
you're
down
the
to
master.
branch out. But I mean, I love talking about dating too.
Yeah.
People in general.
Next
Yeah,
time.
people are so interesting.
Bachelor's on. We should watch it together.
Well, Ash,
Yes.
I've been
Well,
trying.
if I'm gonna watch it, I would love to watch it with her.
Oh, and next season is Claire Crawley is the next Bachelorette, and she's 38. And
Hello, love that.
I am
Wow.
so excited. Also, Bachelor Senior. I feel like I'm gonna say promoing Bachelor, but I love. I do. You learn to
No,
love
it's
the show.
cool. Yeah,
But
yeah.
Bachelor Senior Edition's coming out too, and so it's like 65
Stop
plus.
it.
Out of here.
Are
I'm
you
so
serious?
excited.
I didn't know
I'm
that.
I'm so excited.
How
I'm
cute.
pumped. I know.
I
I'm
love
like
old
the
people.
life experience. Like I'm so
Yeah.
into it. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. So
The conversations.
Right?
Oh.
That's
Oh.
interesting.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, guys, we love you. And if you don't follow us on our socials, you should, because we're a grand old time. And also, we'll have links and everything to all of Kendall's socials. Check out her podcast. And yeah, that's the spiel, right? Did I do it right?
You did it great. That was wonderful.
Great reviews.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for being vulnerable, Anonymous. We
Yes.
will see you guys, or not see you guys.
Listen.
Lol.
Rookie. Us later.
Yeah. We'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.